Hey guys, it's Brett here. Just thought I'd give you a review of me living and teaching in Japan after a few months. Um, Now, keep in mind, this is still very early in my contract, so my pros and cons and just the general way I feel about Japan or my job may change in the future. But for now, let's start with the pros. So, my first pro is the people. And what I mean by that is some of my friends back home may get offended, but there aren't so many anime or otaku people in this culture versus what you see in America. When you want to get interested in Japan or Japanese culture in America, it's it's you're almost instantly labeled a weeaboo or otaku or some negative meaning. I don't understand it, but there were a lot. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm actually friends with a bunch of people that love anime and that whole culture. That's just not me. There are certainly some here in Japan. If you're like that and you want to get into that with Japanese people, you could certainly find them. But most of the people that I've met have been interested in similar things as me, like sports, music, hanging out, drinking. Even having just been here a couple months, I've made both Japanese and other English speaking friends. We've been out to card games, karaoke. I went on a trip to Kyoto with 6 other people, and a bunch of other stuff. So I look forward to making friends and being able to do more awesome stuff. Next, I would say the public transportation and just transportation in general. Um, if you're like me and you're from America, then you'll know just how hard it is to get anywhere without a car. It's not like that here, though. I have a train pass, my Ikoka, which I can just tap and go onto trains, and even some convenience stores and some shops will treat it like a debit card. You can pay with it. It's really convenient, so I like it. I also have a bike, so if you know me, you personally know that I loved to ride bikes. But in America, or at least in my hometown, it was always way more convenient to ride your, I'm sorry, to drive your car anywhere rather than bike there. Um, so I was restricted to lakes and paths and stuff. It almost made it not worth it. I didn't get to ride my bike a lot. But here, I ride my bike pretty much every weekend at least. I take the train to work, but on my off days or when I'm off, I try to use my bike or walk. So, first, it's healthier, and then second, riding a bike is fun. Here, I can ride my bike all over Hiroshima, and it's not that big of a deal. You see people riding their bikes everywhere for everything, to go shopping, to go hang out, or just plain exercise. Today, actually, I had off and I took my bike into town, went shopping at Costco, and came back. Um, it's only around 10 kilometers or so, but that's a big deal from America. I don't think you could do that unless you lived in like New York City or something, but I didn't. So I really like being able to grab a train that I know is on time, clean, fast, convenient, or having the option to go on a nice bike ride. Next is the city. Hiroshima itself is very beautiful. I find myself constantly amazed by the beauty of Japan and the mountains, the rivers, castles, shrines everywhere. Um, it's amazing to me, and I'm more for cities normally than nature, but even the city itself is beautiful. I just like the urban jungle atmosphere. So even in America or when I went to England, so I loved New York, DC, Baltimore, my city, um, London, Manchester. I loved just the urban scape of it. But here, you get both city in Hiroshima and then surrounding areas. You get a nice blend of nature, temples, rivers, mountains. There's mountains everywhere. And I love that about Japan. It's so beautiful. And you get to see a lot of it on the Shinkansen or the bullet train, which you don't have in America for whatever reason. Anyways, the last point I had for pro was my school. I think I got really lucky where I was placed at. Without saying too much, I'm part of a bigger chain of schools, and I think I got really lucky. What I mean is, when researching jobs, maybe you are researching too, and you hear this all the time, that just negative things, like how strict it is, how many hours you work, you don't have any freedom. You hear a lot of negative Nancy's. At my school, it's kind of casual. I mean, I get to keep this glorious beard, talk to my students a lot. I'm actually excited every time I have a student come in, one of my students, and I'm excited to ask them, oh, how was your trip, or what did you do today, or how was lunch, and just get to know them and have real conversations. I really like it. And another thing is, at my school at least, I get to practice some Japanese. Another major thing you hear about teaching English in Japan is no Japanese, ever. Even if you're not in class. If you're in the building, English. And I get it, it's to help students learn, and it's for the students, so it's important. So when I'm in the lobby or in English class, I speak English, but we're connected to a Chinese school, so not all of the students that come in are learning English. Some are learning Chinese, so I get to speak with them in Japanese. And in the back office, I have my staff with me. They speak Japanese. They love to help me learn, and the other foreign teachers. It's really nice. At least during working hours, most of the people are very friendly and welcoming. So now let's move on to the cons. The first con I put was actually my school. But that's a pro, Brett. Yeah, it's a pro and a con. The cons of my school specifically are, since I did say it was casual, it can be a little unorganized sometimes. Many of my classes have had extra students show up at the last minute, or students on my list that weren't supposed to be there, or never were in the class, so... Or I'll have to do something where they just tell me, like, oh, can you do this right now? When it would have been nice to have some warning or have it written for me, hey, you have this appointment. But it's just a small thing. It doesn't really annoy me that much, but it may annoy some of you who prefer something really strict and scheduled and by the book. The next part that kind of annoys me is having to sell things to students. I just got done watching Regan's video, and I'll put a link in the description. What he said was he was glad he worked with a small company because he didn't have to worry about big business. It was all personal. Teach English, which I agree. That sounds that sounds really nice. But since I'm part of a bigger company, sales are a big thing. And I understand it's a business after all, so I try not to let it get to me. Either way, one, I have to do it, so I might as well like it. And two, it's not that big of a deal. Money is money, it has to be made. So, yeah. The other con would be the hours. Anyone working in an eikaiwa will tell you, in general, you'll have some rough hours. Everyone normally works a 9 to 5, so we have to work a noon to 9. And maybe you like to sleep in, so you're thinking, oh, noon, that's great. I tend to wake up around 5 or 6 a.m. anyways, so going to a normal hour job wouldn't be hard for me. What is hard is getting off at 9, and anyone in Japan will tell you 9 is when things start to close. Restaurants, shops, anything. 10 is late for normal. I've only found one restaurant near me that was open until midnight, but one. Usually when I get home around 9:45, everything's closed. My grocery store, and if I forgot to go shopping that week or I couldn't, then I'll be stuck to eating convenience store food, which I don't have a problem with the taste. They're not gonna help me whatsoever in losing weight. So I try not to eat convenience store food too much. My last con that I put was making friends. So yes, I know, in the pros I said I've made friends and I've had great times, and I have, but for the most part they've been one-off adventures. I've yet to make a friend I can consistently hang out with on the weekends. You may say, oh, Brett, why don't you ask your coworkers? And they've already got their own cliques, essentially. They have their own friends, no room for me. Trust me, I've tried asking them, but they just ignore me. Regardless, one thing I've noticed is no one will try making plans with me most of the time. It's usually me trying to make plans and invite other people. This was the same problem in America. Like I was never popular. I don't claim to have been, but at least in America, I lived there for 21 years. I had a good base of friends, a best friend I've had for at least 15 years. And, having to start from scratch here can be pretty rough, especially when everyone has their own clique and plans, and everyone here plans so far ahead. People have plans for Golden Week already, and so if you don't know, Golden Week is in April, May. So it's kind of hard. Overall, it's been enjoyable so far, but I'm only 2 months in on my contract, so things could always change. Like every job, there's good days and bad days, but I don't regret coming to Japan, and I hope the cons that I listed can be changed in the near future. So, if you've enjoyed this video, if it helped you understand what it's like, at least for Japan, going to Japan, teaching English, maybe some questions you may have, leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video and it was helpful, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you're new to this channel, and also check out my other videos. I'm going to get dinner started. It's actually getting pretty late here, and I have work tomorrow. So I will see you guys later.